Welcome back to another empowering episode of Journey to Success. I'm Emily Carter, your host, and today we're diving into a topic that's essential for anyone looking to inspire and impact others: developing leadership skills. Joining us is an exceptional guest, Dr. Marcus Hayes, a leadership consultant, best-selling author, and keynote speaker who's transformed countless teams and individuals into confident, effective leaders. Marcus, it's an absolute privilege to have you with us today.
Thank you, Emily. I'm genuinely thrilled to be here and explore a subject that's not just about titles or power, but about uplifting others to achieve greatness together.
I'm so excited to hear your insights. Leadership is such a dynamic skill, relevant whether you're running a company or guiding a family. Marcus, let's start with the big picture. Why is developing leadership skills so crucial for success, and how does it shape our lives and those around us?
That's a fantastic question, Emily, and it really gets to the core of why leadership matters so deeply. Leadership isn't about being the loudest voice in the room or having a corner office. It's about inspiring, empowering, and guiding others toward a shared vision while fostering trust and growth. Strong leadership skills amplify your ability to navigate challenges, build meaningful connections, and create lasting impact, whether in a boardroom, a community, or even at home. They're the bridge between dreams and reality, turning ideas into action through collaboration and clarity. I think of someone like Nelson Mandela, whose leadership transformed South Africa. Mandela didn't just lead with authority. He led with empathy, forgiveness, and vision, uniting a divided nation after 27 years in prison. He once said, "A leader is like a shepherd. He stays behind the flock, letting the most nimble go out ahead, whereby the others follow." That humility and focus on others shaped his legacy. Early in my own journey, I was a mid-level manager in a Chicago tech firm, frustrated by my inability to motivate my team. I felt like a fraud, barking orders without impact. But when I studied leaders like Mandela and began focusing on listening and empowering, everything shifted. My team's performance soared, I earned a promotion, and I found my calling in leadership coaching. Developing leadership skills doesn't just make you successful. It makes you a catalyst for others' success, creating a ripple effect of growth and possibility.
That's such a powerful way to frame it, Marcus. Leadership as a catalyst. Mandela's shepherd metaphor is so vivid. You mentioned your early struggles as a manager. Can you walk us through how someone can start developing leadership skills, especially if they don't feel like a natural leader?
Absolutely, Emily. The first step is to embrace leadership as a learnable skill. No one is born a leader. Great leaders are made through practice, reflection, and intention. Start by focusing on active listening. Truly hearing others, colleagues, friends, family, builds trust and shows you value their perspectives. I draw inspiration from Oprah Winfrey, whose ability to listen deeply turned interviews into transformative conversations. Oprah said, "Leadership is about empathy. It's about having the ability to relate to and connect with people for the purpose of inspiring." Her skill made her a global influencer, leading not through control, but through connection. In my manager days, I was so focused on results I barely listened. My team felt ignored and morale tanked. I started practicing Oprah's approach. In meetings, I'd ask open-ended questions like, "What's your take on this?" and paraphrase to show I heard them. It was awkward at first, but it built trust. My team started sharing ideas, and we hit our targets early. I coached a client named Sarah, a school principal who felt her staff dismissed her. She thought leadership meant authority, not connection. We worked on listening, really hearing teachers' concerns, and within months, her school's culture transformed, earning her a district award. Listening isn't passive. It's a leadership superpower that opens doors to collaboration and innovation. Another step is to lead by example. Your actions set the tone. I learned this from Satya Nadella, Microsoft CEO, who revived the company by modeling humility and curiosity. Nadella said, "Listen more, talk less, and be decisive when the time comes." His example inspired me to show up authentically, admitting mistakes, staying calm under pressure. For Sarah, leading by example meant joining teachers in classrooms, not just issuing directives. Her staff respected her more, boosting morale. Start small, listen intentionally, act with integrity, and you'll see leadership grow naturally, no natural talent required.
I love that, Marcus. Listening and leading by example as accessible starting points. Oprah and Nadella make it so clear. But what about when leadership feels daunting, like when you're facing conflict or tough decisions? How do you stay confident and effective?
Oh, Emily, those moments are where leadership is forged, and they can feel like standing on a cliff's edge. The key is to lean into emotional intelligence. This means managing your emotions and reading others to navigate conflict with clarity and compassion. One tool is pausing before reacting. Take a breath, assess, then respond. I draw from Michelle Obama, who faced criticism as First Lady yet led with grace, saying, "When they go low, we go high." Her emotional intelligence turned adversaries into allies through calm, principled responses. When I faced my first big conflict, a team revolted over a project deadline. I panicked, wanting to shut it down. But I remembered Michelle's approach. I paused, invited feedback, and acknowledged their stress, then proposed a revised timeline. It diffused tension, and we delivered ahead of schedule. I coached a client named Michael, a startup founder whose team clashed over priorities, threatening a product launch. Inspired by Michelle, he held a reset meeting, listening to grievances and aligning everyone on goals. The launch succeeded, and his team bonded. Emotional intelligence turns conflict into connection, building loyalty and results. For tough decisions, anchor to your values. Leadership isn't about being right, it's about being purposeful. I learned this from Indra Nooyi, former PepsiCo CEO, who made bold calls, like shifting to healthier products, by grounding in her value of long-term impact. When I had to fire an underperforming but likable team member, I dreaded it. But my value, fairness to the team, guided me to do it respectfully, offering support for their next steps. Michael used Nooyi's clarity to decide on a risky pivot, trusting his vision for innovation. It paid off with a major investor. In daunting moments, emotional intelligence and values keep you steady, letting you lead with confidence, not fear.
That's so empowering, Marcus. Emotional intelligence and values as leadership anchors. Michelle and Nooyi's examples bring it to life. You've mentioned incredible figures like Mandela and Oprah. Are there other famous leaders whose skills inspire your approach?
Oh, definitely, Emily. Leadership shines through so many lenses, and we can learn from them all. Take Abraham Lincoln, who led America through the Civil War with empathy and resolve. Lincoln invited rivals into his cabinet, listening to dissent to strengthen his decisions, saying, "I don't like that man. I must get to know him better." His humility inspired me when I clashed with a colleague over strategy. Instead of digging in, I sought their perspective. It led to a breakthrough campaign. I coached a client named Olivia, a nonprofit director whose board resisted her vision. Lincoln's inclusion taught her to engage skeptics, uniting them for a record fundraiser. Another is Serena Williams, whose leadership extends beyond tennis to business and advocacy. Serena leads with authenticity, saying, "I'm not afraid to be who I am." Facing setbacks, like health crises, she mentors young athletes, modeling resilience. Her example pushed me to be transparent with my team about challenges, fostering trust. I worked with a client named Ethan, a chef whose restaurant struggled. Serena's authenticity inspired Ethan to share his vision with staff, rallying them to innovate a menu that won awards. Then there's Jacinda Ardern, New Zealand's former prime minister, who led with compassion during crises like COVID and terror attacks. Ardern said, "One of the criticisms I've faced is that I'm too empathetic, but you don't lead with empathy. You lead with clarity and strength." I leaned on her balance when coaching a client named David, a retail manager whose team felt unheard during layoffs. Ardern's empathy guided David to hold open forums, boosting morale and sales. These leaders show leadership isn't one size fits all. It's about adapting strengths to serve others.
Those stories are so inspiring, Marcus. Lincoln, Serena, Ardern, they show leadership's many faces. What about common pitfalls? Are there mistakes people make when developing leadership skills?
Great question, Emily, because pitfalls can stall even eager leaders. One big mistake is focusing on control over collaboration. Some think leadership means having all the answers, but that alienates teams. I learned this from Steve Jobs, who, early on, micromanaged at Apple, losing talent. His later success came from empowering others, saying, "It doesn't make sense to hire smart people and tell them what to do." I made this error as a manager, dictating tasks until turnover spiked. Shifting to collaboration doubled our output. I coached a client named Rachel, a project lead who controlled every detail, frustrating her team. Jobs' evolution inspired her to delegate. She delivered her project early and earned a promotion. Collaboration, not control, builds loyalty. Another trap is neglecting self-awareness. Leadership starts within. Know your strengths, triggers, and blind spots. Brené Brown, a leadership researcher, says, "Who we are is how we lead." I ignored my impatience early on, snapping under stress, which eroded trust. Feedback from a mentor helped me pause and reflect, strengthening my team. Rachel, inspired by Brown, sought 360-degree feedback, discovering her abrupt tone. Adjusting it transformed her team's morale. Self-awareness fuels growth. Finally, avoiding tough conversations undermines leadership. People dodge conflict to seem nice, but clarity is kinder. Sheryl Sandberg, former Meta COO, says, "Leadership is about making others better as a result of your presence." I shied from addressing a team member's errors, hurting performance. Learning from Sandberg, I held candid, kind talks. It turned them into a star. Avoiding these traps, control, low self-awareness, dodging tough talks, sets you up for authentic, impactful leadership.
That's such a wake-up call, Marcus. Jobs' shift, Brown's self-awareness, Sandberg's clarity. They reframe leadership so practically. How do we sustain and grow leadership skills long-term, especially when challenges mount?
Sustaining leadership is like sharpening a blade. It requires consistent care to stay effective, especially under pressure. One habit is lifelong learning. Great leaders never stop studying. Books, mentors, experiences. I learned this from Warren Buffett, who reads daily to sharpen his decisions, saying, "The more you learn, the more you earn." I read one leadership article weekly, sparking ideas for my coaching. I coached a client named Anna, a nurse supervisor whose team resisted change. Buffett's curiosity led her to take a leadership course, uniting her staff for a hospital award. Learning keeps you adaptable. Another key is reflective practice. Pause regularly to assess what worked, what didn't. Bill Gates uses Think Weeks to reflect, refining his leadership in philanthropy. I journal post-project, noting wins, like a team's trust, and flops, like rushed decisions. It's honed my approach. Anna adopted weekly reflections, spotting her tendency to micromanage, which she corrected, boosting efficiency. Reflection turns experience into wisdom. Also, seek diverse perspectives. Leadership thrives on inclusion. Angela Merkel, former German chancellor, led by listening to all sides, saying, "You can't solve problems with the same thinking that created them." I joined cross-industry forums to hear new views, enriching my coaching. I coached a client named Mark, a tech lead whose team stalled on innovation. Merkel's openness inspired him to poll junior staff, sparking a breakthrough app. Diversity fuels creativity. Finally, anchor to purpose. Your why sustains you through challenges. Martin Luther King Jr. led with purpose, justice, saying, "The ultimate measure of a man is where he stands in times of challenge." My purpose, empowering growth, guides me through setbacks, like a failed workshop I retooled into a hit. These habits, learning, reflection, diversity, purpose, build leadership that evolves and endures.
Those are such dynamic tools, Marcus. Buffett's learning, Gates' reflection, King's purpose. It's a blueprint for growth. As we close, what's one final piece of advice for listeners ready to develop their leadership skills today?
My biggest advice is to lead with one intentional act now. Leadership starts small, with a choice to inspire or uplift. Think of Malala Yousafzai, who led by teaching girls despite threats, saying, "We realize the importance of our voices only when we are silenced." For me, it was that first listening session with my team, sparking a career I love. One last story. I coached a single mom named Lauren, a cashier who felt powerless to lead. She doubted her voice mattered. We looked at Fred Rogers, who led with kindness, saying, Anyone who does anything to help a child is a hero to me. Lauren started mentoring new hires, boosting store morale, and earning a supervisor role. If Lauren can lead, so can you. Pick one act today, listen deeply, share a vision, own a mistake. That step shapes you into the leader you're meant to be.
What a beautiful way to wrap up. Marcus. Lauren's story, alongside legends like Malala and Rogers, shows leadership is for everyone. Thank you for sharing such profound wisdom and practical steps. I know our listeners are ready to inspire those around them.
Thank you, Emily, and to all the listeners. I hope you feel empowered to lead with courage and heart.
And that's it for today's episode of Journey to Success. If this conversation ignited your leadership spark, and I'm betting it did, please hit that subscribe button to catch every transformative episode. Share this with someone ready to step up, and join us next time for more insights to fuel your journey. Until then, keep leading with purpose.